going on? What is going on, guys? Today is March 26th, 2024. I'm going to go ahead and get ready for the trading week. First announcement for sure. Going to be bringing way more value on the YouTube channel. Already made that decision. There's going to be a couple changes to how I deliver value inside the group as well. And we'll be moving these market outlooks back to Sunday as far as being live, given that I've switched to trading futures now. It was good to have the market outlooks on Monday night because when I was trading Forex, I would only really trade Tuesday through Friday. And I'm still really trading mostly Tuesday through Friday. However, there are some times that Monday offers great price action on indexes. And therefore, on those days, I do want to be prepared. And I'll go ahead and do these market outlooks a little bit sooner, okay? But I'm just going to have a quick outlook today. First, of course, starting off with the DXY. Actually first starting off with, the news that we have coming up this week, the news events. We've already got NFP out the way for this month, CPI, FOMC, and this is actually going to be our last week of March. Next week, we'll be starting off Monday with April Fool's Day and going into the first week here of April, aka NFP. All right, so that's going to be next week. So this week, we want to go ahead and pull a Denzel Washington, right? From around the way, we're going to leave here with something, right? We want to be able to take advantage of this week when we don't have crazy high volatility events this week, but we do have some good news events, all right? So we had some high impact news today, New York session here on US dollar. Going into today, we'll have news impact here at 8:30, as well as news releasing at 10 a.m. Okay, and then we'll have a few new, a 5-year note dropping in the PM session, right? But we have a pretty good high impact news events here at 8:30 and 10 a.m. So we can expect to frame our biases around those times for some activity here on dollar. Wednesday, only news events on Wednesday is going to be at 10:30. So, and it's only oil. So it's possible that out of all the days of the week, we see some lackadaisicalness on Wednesday or normal price action here on Wednesday. Thursday, we have 8:30 GDP on Thursday, 9:45 PMI, and 10 a.m. We're going to be having a series of news releases. So it's going to be a flurry of news releases here on dollar on Thursday. So we can definitely expect a lot of volatility here, especially when we see these news events back to back, 8:30, 9:45, 10 a.m. And then we have a holiday here on Friday, Good Friday for the States. But guess what? Still high impact news releases releasing, and Powell will be speaking at 11:30. So we can expect volatility here on Friday. But really, just looking at this, we want to really wrap up our week by Thursday. If we can wrap it up sooner than that, then great. Okay, so that's what we're looking at for this week. Pretty standard week, nothing overwhelming. Now it's almost the end of March here, and we're going into a new week. So I do want to go ahead and check out the higher time frame here on DXY. Now, dollar recently traded down into this monthly order block, right? And we saw rejection, seeing them start to trade higher. Now, 2023, absolutely full of consolidation. We did see sweeps on the lows here in Q3 of 2023, and then we got a higher high. Okay, we saw price trade back down, respect the wicks here, those long wicks, and we're seeing a form of bullish price action, but we do want to be wary. Okay, we want to be wary because again, we've just been consolidating back and forth here on the higher time frame on dollar, so it's really a lot of accumulation. We want to be aware of that. It's hard to frame something here on the higher time frame, so we're just taking it day by day and continuing to do that. All right, but here on the monthly time frame, we can tell that price is trading back up into this monthly fair value gap. We saw this, we were targeting this going into last month, and we did see price trade up into this in February, respect the halfway, and then end up closing below. I mean, that's a little bit weird when it comes to expecting bullishness in the market. However, you'll notice that next month we opened up trading bearish into that monthly order block, and then now we're starting to see price go ahead and expand higher here on the monthly time frame. So how we, whether or not price defeats this monthly fair value gap is going to give us a lot of insight. Right now, going down to the weekly time frame, as after this year started out, Here was that low from last year that they formed before giving that higher high. All right, now we did see price trade back down. Okay, respect that order block and those wicks on the higher time frame, and then give us more bullishness here on the lower time frames. So on the weekly time frame, I should say. And looking at it here, you'll notice that price traded here all the way back down to this last. We have two down candles back to back. All right, they traded down to. We could say that is a order block. It is the monthly order block. We know that. And on the weekly, it could be viewed as a market shift. Okay, because we do have a series of three down candles here. Just looking at these last two, price came back down to there, respected it, and gave us another engulfing. Okay, another two back-to-back candles that engulf this last one. So I am paying attention to this as our weekly order block, as an area for price to trade back down to, right, before going ahead and attacking these highs from February. Again, I am aware that this is a monthly order block, but a monthly fair value gap, but the price action shows as if we are going ahead and attacking to the upside. So just want to keep that into account. Expect price to trade back down into this weekly order block and at least make a run here on the highs of February, right? Even if they do want to continue lower, just want to at least see them clear these highs of February. Then we can start to politic about whether or not price is going to continue back to the downside, or go ahead and continue to these highs of 2023, which is my desired objective, is to see bullish dollar go ahead and take us up and get us out of this range. But just be aware, we've been ranging back and forth here since 2023, so we don't want to get too excited jumping the gun. Okay, however, going into this week, based on everything that I just broke down, we were expecting here at the beginning of March to see price trade down to this volume imbalance on the daily time frame, and we got that exactly down to that level, wicked it, respected, and then we got expansions higher, left this daily fair value gap again. Last week we saw price dive down into that, and then we got another expansion higher. Okay, so just looking. So sorry, it smelled like it was almost like a heat fire or something in the house. But anyways, looking at the price action from last week. Okay, do want to see price get down into the discount of last week's price action before going ahead and continuing higher. And just keep into account that we do have this weekly order block here on the daily, which is just above where our discount would be. All right, so we do want to see them dig into that discount. I can see that we have a bit of a volume imbalance here. We have that weekly order block, so we'll pay attention. Once price comes back into these levels, because they may get aggressive very quickly. But I would really prefer to see them get down into the discount, right below that weekly order block, maybe even down into this 4-hour fair value gap would be ideal. Is what I'm wanting to see here on DXY to start the week off. Okay, here's our weekly open. We're currently trading below it. Just want to see a little bit more digging down to the downside. Boom, and then see our week go ahead and continue to the upside. That's my expectation here on DXY, and I will save that chart. Let me go ahead and put that in my journal. Right. So yeah, we have that in mind. On DXY. So yeah, that's what we're going to be looking for. It's short and sweet, simple. Yeah. All right. So with that being said, let's take a look at bonds. Okay. Now with the bonds market, expect the opposite of dollar. Now we do know that bonds market, they took the lows here of 2008, that crash, the year of the crash, and just below that we still have some even, some lows here, 06, 07 lows, even lows right next to each other, to go ahead and anticipate. However, after taking those lows of 2008, we did see a bullish price action, not quite higher highs, right? Just be aware of that, not quite higher highs. So this is still bearish market structure. Sorry guys, it's kind of late at midnight, but I'm just making sure we get this in. But I did, go over last month wanting to see price at least go ahead and trade down into this monthly fair value gap before we potentially see continuations higher or just see them abolish this and go ahead and take it to the downside. But this is the next level of liquidity that I'm paying attention to here on the bonds market, that internal monthly liquidity. And just above that, we do have these lows here from February. That's February's lows and the lows of the year so far. Okay. And we have seen a bit of a bearish price action so far this year, right? Just a good bearishness to the downside. But like I said, would love to see them at least get down into this monthly fair value gap before we potentially actually go ahead and head to the upside. Now, going down to we just went down to the weekly. You can see it's just a bit of choppiness here on the weekly. Just going back into February, but we can say, we see this order block that we're trading at right now, but it's a lot clearer if we go down to the daily time frame. We can see that from so far this month, right? Well, actually, we can start looking at last month. So this was last month's price action, and you can see from the high to the low of last month. This month, we started off trading back up into the premium of last month here, into that fair value gap here. All right, and then we saw a bearish break of structure to the downside, leaving this bearish fair value gap, but also leaving this breaker, right? The last down candle before price traded up into this liquidity, and then it was defeated, broken here. That is now our key level on the other side. And if we just look at the premium to discount of now March, we have traded back up into the premium of the past few weeks. All right, so I am paying attention now to seeing price go ahead and utilize this as a potential level and area to go ahead and start heading to the downside, back to those February lows on indexes, which would be in accordance with DXY going ahead and trading back to the upside. All right, just want to give DXY a little room to trade a bit lower, which means we could potentially even see a run higher here on last week's highs on bonds before actually seeing them dump off to the downside. But that's my overall thoughts here on bonds, which would support bearishness on indices and bullishness on dollar, right? Now, speaking of indices, take a quick look. I'm not going to go too deep on indices, but I will take a quick look at NAS because that's what we trade. Looking at NASDAQ, clearly bullish, right? That's all that you can really gamble on bet on when it comes to, indices right now, is that they're going to be bearish, right? They're going to be bullish. All right, now looking at the daily time frame, we do have a daily volume imbalance here up in these highs that they've been playing around with. They played around with it today, right? Came down to the lows, rejected, came back up to the highs, rejecting. So we're getting a little bit of activity in here, but because the market's so bullish, it's hard to use, and we're at all-time highs, hard to use anywhere above the 4-hour or the daily to really come to a conclusion. But just know that I am paying attention to that now. Looking at time, we have last week here. This is last week's price action. And then we have this being the high of March. All right, and last week we went ahead and ran out these highs of March. Okay, and we started to see them trade back down into our range. Now, I am in the mood of being patient right now when it comes to NASDAQ. I do want to see bearishness, as I just went over on bonds, and bullishness on the dollar. However, again, they're so bullish that you just have to be careful. I am paying attention to the fact that we left these very large wicks here at the high. I am paying attention to actually, as I expect DXY to fall a bit before going higher, I do expect to see one more run up into that buy side liquidity here on NASDAQ, seeing how they traded below. All right, we saw them trade below here. We saw them trade below the lows here of Friday. These are Friday's lows. And starting off on Monday, we saw them dive below those lows from Friday and give us a bullish engulfing. Also, clearly, you can see on the daily, right? This is that daily volume imbalance here that they traded back into, respected the level, and expanded higher. And on the 4-hour, we also have a 4-hour FVG that we can pay attention to if we measure it. Right, you can see they traded just to the halfway of that fair value gap, and they gave us a bullish engulfing to the upside. All right, so we swept out liquidity, the lows here, internal liquidity of the range of last week, and then we're seeing these bullish engulfings come in. So I do expect intermediate term bearishness, but right now, off of that 4 hour, um, four 4 hour order block here, and then going down to the 1 hour, we had a 1 hour fair value gap left here on the expansion from Monday at 10 a.m. They left that. And then went ahead and dumped off to close off Monday, trading right back into that level before, going ahead and getting a little bit of oomph to take us higher. All right, so I do want to go ahead and I do want to see NASDAQ trade higher from this level. I mean, it looks like we're actually pretty ready to make our moves, as we're seeing again another bullish engulfing here on the 1 hour. So yeah, I want to see bullishness take us up above the weekly open, right? Maybe just here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see price actually come all the way back up to these wicks before we see price actually ready to break down to the downside. So kind of something like this, right? Which is, in alignment with this consolidation that's going on. But yeah, that's my thoughts here on NASDAQ. So depending on where price is at during New York session will determine whether or not we're in position to take advantage of the buys or take advantage of the sells, right? So we're going to save that. Okay. Now, last but not least, we do have gold. And I told you guys I'm looking to start taking advantage of gold in the futures market now that I'm starting to get more comfortable in the market. We can see that so far this year we've been bullish. We had consolidation in January, consolidation in February, and then expansion here going into March. February did here take these lows of January here. They took the lows in February, and then towards that end of February, we got the boom expansion to the upside, and giving us all-time highs here on gold again. Now, similar case, we have this weekly fair value gap here on gold, but it's very high up. It's hard to bet that that's something that we actually want to utilize for buying opportunities. However, did they already trade back into it? They already wicked down. Last week's price action was wild, right? They wicked down into that fair value gap, took it to the upside, and then ended up coming all the way back down. It's really, really crazy price action. And that was thanks to FOMC, I believe, if I'm not correct. Yeah, that was thanks to FOMC. All right, so we did see price make that run up, just dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, looking at that range of last week. I would expect for price to go ahead and run out the sell side liquidity from last week and come back into this weekly fair value gap again. We have double on the 4-hour time frames, looking at the, you have lows of last Monday, lows of last Tuesday, lows of Wednesday, right? So we have triple bottoms here, all being the lows of last week. Definitely want to see them attack that regardless of if we're going to go higher or not. So I got my hand in my shirt, guys. But regardless of if we're going to go higher or not. But before that, of course, I would ideally actually want to see them come up, above these highs from Monday one more time, right? Today's Monday, see them run up into that. Now, it's interesting because actually Monday's price action already took us up into that premium of last week, taking Friday's highs here, right? Before we actually, Friday's highs would actually be up here. But taking that Friday true highs right after midnight, they took that here, and then we started to see them fall off now. So, I mean, it's potential, right? We could actually see them reject here off the weekly open, right? Because this is the weekly opening price. We could actually see them dive from here down to those lows. So that would be interesting. But, ideally, during New York, it would be cool if before taking here, we can actually see price above the highs from Monday one more time, maybe even above the highs from Friday, then, take a sharp dive towards those sell side, liquidity of last week. That would be ideal for me. So yeah, those are my thoughts here on the market going into this week. Prepared, and we'll be doing the live session tomorrow, and I look forward, guys. I look forward to it. Should be a good week. Got beat up last week, was a bit overly aggressive in low probability conditions, and we definitely learned our lesson on that. So yeah, man, we gonna get to it. We gonna get into it. But that's what we're looking for this week. So see you guys on the live sessions, and if you're watching the recording, get some value. All right, let's go.